our two speakers for tonight from Dharma Voices for Animals. And we have the one on my the left here. It's Mr. Bob Isaacson. He's from San Diego, United States of America. He's the co-founder and president for Dharma Voices of Animals. Mr. Bob has practiced Buddhism in Vipassana and also the Theravada traditions for more than 20 plus years. Yeah, and he was a civil and human rights attorney who is specialized in death penalty defense. And he currently teaches Buddhism and also did the meditation retreat in the San Diego area. 好，现在我们为大家介绍的就是我们穿白色长袖的主讲人，他是我们来自动物法音协会的会长，他是来自美国圣地亚哥的 Mr. Bob Isaacson。那他也是现任的这个动物法营的会长。那他修习内观，还有南传佛教，已经有20多年的时间。曾经呢是担任我们这个人权律师，专门为维护死囚基本权利而辩护。那目前呢，他是一位佛学导师。那在加州圣地亚哥的地带呢，带领一些的禅修活动。So the other gentleman here is Mr. Albert Ma. He's the chapter leader for the Dharma Voices of for animals. For the he's the chapter leader for Perth. So he is a former vice president of Buddhist Society of Western Australia and a former treasurer of Haya Riba Buddhist Center in Perth. So he is currently a Dharma teacher at the Buddhist Society of Western Australia, giving lessons to the senior school class. So please put our hands together to welcome Bob.
Good evening, venerables, and good evening, Dharma brothers and sisters. I'm very happy to be here in Penang. We had a great welcome. We got here yesterday, and we've seen your Sifu, Wenbo Weiwu, who kindly gave us an interview. I was born in Kuala Lumpur, and I grew up in Kuala Lumpur. Some 34 years ago, I moved to Perth in Australia, and now I'm living there and as a citizen.
大家晚上好，我非常的高兴来到槟城。那昨天呢，其实已经拜见了维悟法师。那其实我基本上是来自于吉隆坡，34年前呢，我已经移民到西澳去了。
I'm also the chapter leader of Dharma Voices for Animals in Perth. This was set up 2 years ago, and of course there are other chapters in other countries in this world. Altogether, at the moment, there are some 25 chapters at the moment. Bob, who's sitting next to me, and I are here to talk to you something of the mission of Dharma Voices for Animals. Dharma Voices for Animals, I will call it DVA. So we're here to tell you what we do, what our mission is, and how we can live kinder and eat kinder.
那我其实是那个动物法音协会在那个澳洲西澳博斯的带动人。这个职位呢，我大概是2年前开始承担。那坐在我旁边呢，就是我们这个动物法音协会的主席，他将跟我们谈谈关于我们这个动物法音协会的愿景，还有我们怎么样可以 培养我们的慈悲观，怎么样在我们的日常生活中把慈悲带进我们的日常生活中。
The Buddha taught loving kindness and compassion. Now there is no differentiation in his teaching between humans or animals. So we should practice kindness and compassion to all living beings.
佛陀在他的佛法理论中常常说到慈悲，那慈悲呢，常常其实就跟我们的动物怎么样沟通是有关联的。所以佛陀所教的一切呢，其实就跟我们如何跟动物相处是息息相关的。
Everybody would want to live kinder. I don't think anyone in here wants to be cruel or wants to be unkind to anyone.
我想每一个人都希望自己是慈悲的，都希望跟我们周围的每一个生命的互动是善的。我们都不希望有跟大家有结一些恶缘。
To be kind means speaking kindly, acting kindly, and also thinking kindly.
当我们说慈悲的时候，它其实是包含了我们的身口意。身就是我们所做的行为是慈悲为善的，那身口就是我们所说出的话语，也是代表着慈悲与善的。意呢，也是包含了我们所有的思想的出发点都是以善为主。
So by living kindly, we also should think about how we can eat kindly. All of us, or most of us, will be eating 3 meals a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Some may eat more, some may eat less. But we also need to consider much more than how we speak and how we act, but how we eat.
当我们想要把慈悲应用在我们生活的时候呢，我们其实也需要常常的思考，我们在吃的方面是不是有把这个慈悲观带进去。我们人一天会吃3餐，包括了我们早餐、午餐还有晚餐。
When I grew up, my parents gave me meat to eat. I was not a vegetarian. I became vegetarian about 14 years ago, and I'm now a pure vegetarian or vegan for some 7-8 years.
在我的成长过程中，我不是一出生就是素食者。那我开始的时候，就像大家一样，我们的父母亲都会让我们吃肉，所以我不是天生的素食者。但是我大概是14年前开始就已经吃素。那在最近的7-8年前呢，我已经是全素的。
Why I do so is because of Buddha's teachings on kindness and compassion. We have to be consistent in our practice. If we want to be kind, then we should think very seriously of not eating any animal flesh.
那促使我为什么吃素的原因呢？就是因为佛陀的教理。那佛陀常常跟我们说要有慈悲。当我们要慈悲的时候呢，其实我们的言行要一致。就是当我们说慈悲的时候，我们的行动也是要代表慈悲。
So it's the Buddha's teachings is also an ethical consideration that we respect the life of all living beings. So respect of life is very important. The first precept tells us not to kill.
慈悲也就是代表了我们不吃动物的肉。那不吃动物的肉呢，也代表着我们是尊重对方。如果我们大家是有守戒的话，那第一戒很重要的就是不杀生。
The first precept of not killing, of course, means not killing and not harming. But if we eat meat, then we are encouraging those to kill.
当我们说不杀生的时候呢，第一个戒不杀生，就代表了也不伤害其他的生命。如果我们吃肉的话呢，其实相对来说，我们其实就是在伤害生命，也没有守护好我们的第一戒。
one of the 8 factors is right livelihood. So right livelihood does not permit butchery, animal farming, killing. And so if we are buying meat and cooking meat, then we are supporting wrong livelihood of those who are making the bad karma.
那八正道里头有说到正业，正业呢就代表说我们所做的工作呢，其实就是如法的。如果我们是去买肉的话，那基本上呢就代表说我们是支持那个行业。
So Dharma Voices for Animals was set up out of compassion for animals. We want to give animals a voice because they cannot speak human language. So us humans have to speak up for them and show the world the cruelty involved in raising animals to be killed for our table.
那我们这个动物法音协会成立的主要动机与宗旨呢，就是基于一个慈悲心。那我们的动物基本上它无法言语，那动物法音协会呢，就希望能够成为他们的代言人，希望告诉我们周围的大家，还有告诉我们的世界，在屠杀动物的过程，其实就是一个很重大的伤害。我们希望能够为他们发言。
In my personal experience many years ago, I went into an abattoir. Why I went there was because I was working in a bank. And the bank was looking at providing finance to the slaughterhouse.
在我个人的一个经验中呢，我有去过一个屠宰场。
Most of us don't get any opportunity. In fact, we are discouraged by the animal industry from ever going inside the slaughterhouse.
相信很多在座的各位，我们其实都没有亲身去过屠宰场，因为我们没有那个机会去到。然后很多时候，做这个行业的人，他们都不会让我们去到那边，因为他会让我们看到很残酷的现实。
When I was in the slaughterhouse, the manager showed 2 of us around, but he will not let us into the place where animals were being killed. He said it was too upsetting and he did not want us to see how animals die.
那Brother Albert 就说，那时候其实当他到那个屠宰场的时候呢，那边的负责人其实不让他去看到那个动物真正被宰杀的地方，因为他说那个是一个非常残酷的一个场面，所以不希望让他去到那边。
But I could hear the cries of the animals. They were screaming, they were squealing, they were very afraid of death. So it really upset me. No animal wants to die. Nobody wants to die on their own willingly. Animals don't give their lives willingly to us.
虽然我没有亲眼看到那个整个屠杀的过程，但是我耳朵可以听到那些动物在呐喊，所以他们好像挣扎着一种求生的声音。我听了其实非常的难过。其实每一个生命都希望能够有生存的机会。
So I notice now that this 9 Emperor Gods Festival at the moment going on, everyone is eating vegetarian. So I would ask all of you here tonight to consider continuing to become vegetarians for the rest of your life.
那我有注意到，现在在我们马来西亚这个9天呢，就是我们9王年那个节素食节吧。 那看到很多人都很发心的持素，那Brother Albert 就说，希望在此呢呼吁大家，不是只是在短短的9天之内持素而已，希望我们都发愿生生世世的持素。
And if you do so, the animals will definitely be very thankful for you.
So the neighbor is also getting very excited for that. Yeah. 所以如果大家真的能够在听完这个讲座之后，从此回去发愿，能够生生世世的持素的话，相信我们全世界的所有生命都会非常的感恩与感激你。
Okay, I think all of you have got my message. So I will stop here now and I will hand it over to Bob. But thank you very much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you. I hope what I said made sense. Thank you.
我的分享就到此为止。那我会将我的麦交给Mr. Bob。那希望呢，我今天的呼吁呢，都能让大家听到，然后也非常的感恩大家今天抽空的出席，坐在这里，让我们有这个机会与您分享。
Hello, everybody. Hi.
大家好。
As you probably can see, I'm very happy to be here. And I'm very grateful for the invitation and the generosity that everyone here at Tanchung has shown, Albert and me. So we've been here a day and a half now, and it's just been wonderful. So I'm extremely happy to be here, and on behalf of our organization, Dharma Voices for Animals, we are Albert and I are just very overjoyed to be here. So thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, too.
我非常的高兴来到槟城，然后非常的感恩被邀请来在这里与大家分享。那仅代表我们的动物法音协会，感恩大家今天晚上的出席。再一次跟您说，我非常的开心来到槟城。
I was an attorney, and I was a human rights attorney. I represented poor people that had no money, could not pay for an attorney.
我其实是一个人权律师，我帮一些比较经济上无法负担的人呢办理这些关于法律上的一些事务。
And my specialty was for 20 years to represent people facing the death penalty. I did this in Chicago and in San Diego, and I stood between the government and the life of my client.
那我的专长呢是为一些死囚辩护，让他们豁免死刑。
And now the second half of my life, as a Buddhist, I am fully committed. My life now is about standing between the slaughterhouse and animals, and to bring this message to Buddhist communities around the world.
我上半生呢，我是为那些死囚做辩护，希望他们能够豁免于死刑。那我现在的下半生呢，我会全力以赴为我们的动物说话，就是当这个动物的代言人，希望让他们找到一个求生的机会。
I also want to say this is very important that, Albert and I were not always vegetarian. Our parents raised me and Albert mentioned to eat, animal flesh. That was what our families did. So, people in this room might be vegetarian, maybe pure vegetarian, maybe no animal products, or you may be, eating meat. So wherever you are, it's okay, and we want to hear from you. So any kind of question you have, Albert and I are certainly not here to judge anyone. We want to support you. If you want to look into this, seriously look into the harm that we cause animals, not intentionally, but indirectly, to really look at that from a Buddhist point of view. We're going to be using the teachings of the Buddha. You'll see that in the film. We support you wherever you are. This is a safe place to talk about your practice, your habits around eating.
那有一点很重要的，我想要跟大家重申的就是，其实我们不是天生就是素食者。那当我们在成长的过程中，其实我们的父母亲就是让我们吃肉就跟大家基本上我们大家所成长的过程是一样的。那今天如果您已经是全素，或者您是正在开始要走入素食的旅程，或者还在犹豫当中，或者还未完全踏出素食的第一步的话，其实不用太过担心。那我们今天两个呢，在这里呢，就是希望能够帮忙大家踏出那第一步。如果您有什么问题的话，都希望您能够发问。那希望我们大家都能够以一个佛教徒慈悲的发心来护持这个行动。
Dharma Voices for Animals (DVA) is now in its 6th year of existence, and we are the only Buddhist animal advocate group in the entire world, as best we could tell. I think we probably would have heard of another one in the 6 years. There is no other group. There are animal advocate groups, thousands of them around the world, but none of them are Buddhist, and none of them talk about it directly from the point of view of the Dharma, of the Buddhist teaching.
那我们的这个 DVA Dharma Voices for Animals，在中文的翻译其实没有一个正统的翻译。那我们今天在这里呢，就把它翻译为动物法音协会其实成立至今呢，已经有6年之久了。那其实我们是全球唯一第一个以佛法的立场来为动物发言的一个协会。
When I first turned to the Dharma, so I was not raised as a Buddhist. I grew up in the West. There's back when I was a kid, there were very few Buddhist communities. There's some, but very few in the U.S. And so I wasn't exposed to the Dharma until about 20 to 23 years ago.
那大家都看得出我在西方的那个国家成长。那在我幼年的时候呢，基本上我没有什么机会可以接触到佛法。我真正接触到佛法大概是将近20到23年前吧。
It was about 22 years back.
Yeah.
I was in my 40s.
所以其实是大概20多年前大概他40岁左右的时候他已经揭露了他的年龄。So I was telling them that you actually tell us how old you are. How old you are? Sorry about that. Yeah.
I am 29.
You can tell. Yeah. And I'm 16.
The Dharma makes us feel and look younger.
那如果没有修学佛法的话，修行佛法的话，大家看来其实都很年轻
So I retired from law practice to practice Dharma, and I went on long retreats, 1 month, 2 months, 6 weeks, and I was shocked to find out that all Buddhists were not vegetarian after reading the Dharma and practicing it.
那我退休之后呢，就很积极的参加一些禅修的活动。那我感到非常震惊的，其实是我们有很多的佛教徒，但是很多的佛教徒其实都不是素食者。
The Buddhist teachings, as Albert referred to them, were revolutionary because in many ways. But in regard to animals, the Buddha taught that there is no difference in terms of our compassion and non-harming between an animal and a human. Sentient beings. The Buddha didn't say only people in the U.S. or only people in Vietnam should be treated with kindness. He didn't say only humans should be treated with kindness. he said all sentient beings. Kindness, compassion, non-harming. The first precept, wise action, wise livelihood, and also from the point of view of karma.
好，佛陀在传法的过程中，经过了2000多年了。基本上已经有不一样的演变哦，因为随着地理的环境，随着很多事情，可能都有不一样的演变。但是基本上最简单的慈悲，还有我们和动物之间的互动，这个佛陀所宣导的慈悲，基本上都是不变的，就是关于慈悲，关于人和动物，基本上都是一个有生命，都是一切的众生。
So, all major religions in the world teach compassion, but the Buddha taught that animals were entitled to our full compassion and not to be harmed by us because they can feel pain. Just as we want to be happy, the smallest animal, chicken, turkey, a donkey, a pig, a piglet, they all want to be happy, just like we want to be.
那所有的宗教呢，都在提倡慈悲。那关于佛教呢，非常也比较重视呢，就是关于在动物与动物方面之间的联系。那所有的生物其实都渴望生存，包括了我们所看到的鸡、火鸡，还有鱼子。猪之类，都渴望得到快乐，都渴望得到生存。
And the Buddha taught us that just as all of us in this room want to feel safe, so does every animal want to feel safe.
那我们大家常常都希望，都祈祷哈，希望平安。那其实呢，我平安还有不受伤害，那基本上呢，所有的动物也是有同样的渴望，都渴望得到一个平安、不被伤害的一个环境。
And just as we want to be free from suffering, from dukkha, all animals want to be free from suffering.
那我们常常都希望自己能够远离痛苦、远离苦难。其实同等的动物们呢，也有同样的希望。
So let me stop here and see if there's any questions or comments. And remember, wherever you are coming from, whatever your opinion or view is or your question, you belong here. This is the place for you. And Albert and I will try to answer your questions. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you think is important, what you think is interesting. So anybody want to just please?
那我们现在会暂停一段落哦。大家如果有什么意见、有什么提问的话，都希望听到你们的意见。
Just as a confirmation from you, from my understanding, perhaps I'm a bit premature and religious, perhaps. Are you saying that animals too also have Buddha nature in them, first thing? And the second thing, are you saying that animals also have mental awareness factor in them? Sort of that. Can you please confirm on those two questions first, please, with your mind? Thank you.
The Buddhist teaching on non-harming and compassion, that's where Dharma Voices for Animals comes in. So our message is to not harm animals directly or indirectly. That is based on sentiency or ability to feel pain, ability to feel and ability to feel pain. What's amazing is 2,600 years ago, the Buddha gave us the Dharma, and there weren't scientific tests like we have available now. I mean, some people think that maybe fish don't feel pain. You know, they're underwater, they don't breathe air like we do. But every scientific reliable test that's ever been performed in the 20th century, in the 21st century, now we have science available, the Buddha didn't, show us that fish feel pain just like we do. So being a sentient being or a living being is really the key. As far as Buddha nature, it is, as I understand this, it's of course more difficult for an animal to be awakened. It's human beings that have this special opportunity, the preciousness of a human birth, which allows us to be awakened. But Buddha nature exists in all beings, is my understanding. And about did you ask about consciousness also?
Mental awareness.
Of mental awareness, sure. Yeah, so by mental awareness, what I understand that to mean is being able to understand what is happening around us. So animals probably can't reason like humans can. So I'm not saying animals are the same as humans, but what I'm saying and what the Buddha said is from the point of view of wanting to not be harmed, the point of view of wanting to be free from pain, animals are in the exact same position that humans are because they can feel, they have nervous systems and they can feel pain. I hope that answers your question.
那这位师姐呢，她刚才所发问的就是说，请问我们的动物是不是有佛性？那请问我们的动物是不是也是有感官知觉？那Brother Bob 就说呢，佛陀有说那个不杀生，基本上呢，就是因为那些动物他们都会觉得痛，所以他们都像我们人一样都很怕痛，所以基本上我们都不想要伤害它。但是基本上，如果我们说到底动物是不是有佛性，其实当我们说佛性，就是成佛的可能性。我们常常说人生难得，所以其实是在人的身为人呢，我们才会有佛性。那动物应该是没有佛性，但是他们跟我们一样，因为都有这些器官嘛，所以都有那个感觉，都会感觉到痛，都很怕痛。
Let's see before we play the film if anyone has a question or a comment now. Please, we'd love to hear from you. Do you have another question? Sure, come on up. Thank you for your question.
I have two questions in fact. I'll try to keep it short. What are the basic languages, and when I use the word languages in inverted commas, used by animals, and the word used by, also in inverted comma, when they are exposed to pain and suffering at normal times, okay? Not necessarily upon death, other than screaming and all these things. That is my first question. And
if we could take it one at a time for the translation. Let me just see if I understand your question. Are you asking how we know that when an animal screams, it means the same thing as a human?
Not exactly. What I mean is, what other sort of animals' language, other than screaming, when animals are exposed to pain and suffering, not necessarily upon death itself. Maybe they have their own unique skills or their own unique languages apart from us human beings use.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
我想这位师姐所问的就是说，请问当动物感到很痛苦的时候，除了用呐喊的方式，它基本上还有什么方式表达出来，让我们可以知道其实它是感到痛苦的？除了呐喊那些是我们听觉上可以听出来的，那它还有其他的表达语言的方式吗？
Animals and humans also give non-verbal signals of pain.
Yeah.
I work in a nursing home for the last 16 years. The people in our nursing home are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, even hundreds. Some of them are non-verbal because of dementia. Advanced dementia, they cannot speak anymore. So how do you interact with these people? We see facial signals. Read their face. Read how they move about, body language. Same applies to animals. If an animal is in pain, it's normally like a dog, it will curl up. Right? If you touch it, it might even bite you. Right? Because it doesn't want to be touched where there is pain. So you have to read non-verbal language. So animals, humans, same non-verbal language.
那基本上呢，动物和人一样，很多时候可能我们不能用语言表达出来的时候，其实我们有很多的肢体语言啊，肢体语言那边可以看得出到底它是不是感觉到痛。比如说可能那些狗当它不舒服的时候，它会把它的身体卷曲起来啊，或者它会尝试要咬我们，因为有一种攻击性的一个动作啊，所以基本上人跟动物是一样的。很多时候，如果当我们听不到它们的呐喊，就像人不能说出话的时候，我们可以从它的肢体语言表现出来啊，只要我们多多的观察。
I would like to know whether is it an NGO or a society, the name of your organization. Will you spread to places like China or Southeast Asian countries where exotic animals and all wildlife are killed for their exotic meats? And I feel that these people, just because of now that they are all because of the high income and financial, they have what we call living more luxurious life. So all of these people, they go for wildlife and exotic meats, and many of the wildlife are killed just because of this greed.
那个师姐所发问的问题是说，这个 Dharma Voices of Animal 呢，这个非营利组织，他们是不是会去到其他的一些国家，比如说中国、东南亚地区一些他们会有大量的屠杀一些稀有或者野生的动物，他们会不会去那边去做宣导，然后希望能够挽救到这些动物？
So thank you for that question. So we agree with you that using the wild animals for food is really a very, very bad thing to do at many different levels, even beyond some of the things we're talking about here. So I'm going to Vietnam next Monday. I'm going first to Ho Chi Minh City, then Hue, and then Hanoi. I'll be 10 days in Vietnam. And I have meetings with the Vietnamese Buddhist Sangha. It's the umbrella group that basically supervises 60 million Vietnamese Buddhists. And there are 10 or 12,000 Buddhist Sanghas that are under the jurisdiction. So I'm going to have meetings with them. I'm not exactly sure about everything that we're going to talk about. I have a meeting in Ho Chi Minh City on Tuesday, and then in Hanoi sometime next week, the week after next. So I'm going to bring up as many issues as I possibly can with them. You also mentioned China. So I was in China in 2014 in northwestern China, the Shanxi province. And our plan at Dharma Voices for Animals is to do another film after the film you watch here. And our plan is to do it in Chinese, in the Chinese language, in Mandarin, and then have subtitles in other languages. And we found a fabulous film director. This would be to get our message out in Beijing. But it's now, it's a bit difficult for Chinese nationals to work with NGOs in other countries. So we're going to have to work that out. Our message actually is going to be very much pro Chinese culture, because before Western powers came to Asia, right, most people were vegetarian. And in countries like Burma, in Taiwan, in China, in Thailand, in other countries, especially in China, it was basically the West is what brought in factory farming and agriculture. So we're hopeful we'll be able to do our film, but we don't know. So this is a huge challenge for us. But I'm very happy you identify this, because I think it's really, really important. It's definitely one of our priorities. So let's let's say he's got a thumbs up. Thank you. Let's stop now. We'll have time for more questions. Why don't we watch the film? It's a 50-minute film. We're just going to play the first part, 15 minutes. And you can hear from some outstanding Buddhist teachers from around the world. Then we'll talk about and take more questions.
好，刚才Brother Bob 就说到，其实知道大家都很关注这个野生动物被屠杀的事件哦。那其实在，这一站之后，他会到越南去，然后他们会有一个会议开一个会议。然后其实他有一个想法，想要在中国拍摄一部电影，那希望能够唤起更多人的醒觉。但是现在呢，他们最大的那个挑战，其实这个非营利组织要跟中国的政府合作的话，其实是很大的挑战。但是基本上大家都知道这个是非常重要的，他们非常的关注就是他们站在非常重要的一个地位，他们会关注这件事情。好，现在我们先看一个短片然后再继续我们的发问。
2,500 years ago, a man sat under a Bodhi tree, determined not to budge until he saw all there was to see. Upon arising, now enlightened, the Buddha spent the next 45 years teaching a new and revolutionary way of seeing the world. The essence of his teachings, called the Dharma, was articulated in the Four Noble Truths, where he taught the path to the end of all suffering. Central to these teachings was an important notion that the Dharma is not just about humans. Rather, it includes all of the beings who share the earth. During the course of this film, we'll explore what the Buddha taught us about animals and our relationship to them. Most people raised in the West were taught that animals are very different from people. The food culture centers around eating animals. It's everywhere, in advertising, in restaurants, in the supermarket. And few people think twice before eating a hamburger, or steak, or a piece of chicken. The entertainment industry showcases them in circuses, and zoos, and aquariums. And the medical and cosmetics industries experiment on them. Most of us care very deeply about our companion animals, such as dogs and cats, but we often fail to extend this same compassion to other animals. Imagine instead a culture where animals are not harmed. When people are introduced to the Dharma, one of the first things they're taught is the first precept, cause no harm. And they're taught that this principle of non-harm extends not just to humans, but to all beings.
Unlike in Western culture, where animals are kind of considered almost a separate form of life, and humans are considered very, very different, in Buddhism, we're all considered to be just a part of nature. And that we all have the same, we could say 5 aggregates. We're all made up of the same kinds of stuff. So there's not a hard and fast dividing line between humans on the one hand and the creatures on the other. That's why the first ethical precept in the Buddha's teachings is not to take the life of any living being. So I think that's the fundamental stance from the point of view of the Dharma.
As a Buddhist, when you take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, one of the principles that by taking refuge in Dharma and Buddha is that not harming other beings, not causing harm to other beings. That is the number one key principles that you take by taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
When I'm asked what's the major factor of Buddhism, I will say ahimsa. And ahimsa means non-harming. And in what I've learned of Buddhism, The non-harming is of ourselves, of others, including animals, and of the environment. Those three things are the three things that I see, at least our tradition, try to deal with all the time. To live lightly on the land. And that would certainly include not taking the life of another, not stealing their life, and also what their bodies were made of.
So the teaching is really, not to do any harm. That's the first precept, not to kill, or sometimes it's translated as harm living beings. And it's partly to do with a sense of compassion for the animal, a sense of recognizing that animals suffer. There's also, you might say, a more transcendent view of it, that, according to the Dharma, we take rebirth, and it might be that some of the animals that we are killing were once human beings, or hopefully were moving up the strata. So I think it's basically seeing his teaching as a whole and putting all animals within that process of liberation.
I'm lucky in a sense. I've taken the precepts in all three traditions. I'm a joint monk now in the Tibetan tradition and the Soto Zen tradition. But in my early days I trained in a Theravada tradition and spent a short time as a Theravada monk. So I've taken the precepts in all three traditions. In the early tradition of Theravada, the first precept was translated to me as Panatipada Vinamani Sikapadang Samadhyami. I undertake the rule of training to refrain from causing injury to living things. That's all living things. That's how it was taught to me. And that's how I teach people. All living things. So we refrain from harming them. That's the same in the Tibetan tradition, because in the Tibetan tradition, the Vinaya is based on the early Patimokkha tradition anyway, so the precepts are more or less the same. The difference comes in the Zen tradition, where the first precept just says, do not kill. And this means do not kill the Buddha. Do not kill the Buddha mind, if you like. Do not do anything that hampers the growth and movement and flow of the Buddha mind, the Buddha nature, the Dharmakaya. So obviously the eating of animals and the interfering with the animal kingdom, exploiting it, does affect that precept, does block that flow, does get in the way of the flow of the Buddha mind, of the Dharmakaya. So the first precept, not to cause any injury to any living thing, means any living thing.
It's interesting to me because the suttas on one hand are very clear about non-harming. And when they talk about beings, it's all beings, it's sentient beings. Included in the first precept of non-harming is to not take life. So that seems fairly clear to me, that the Buddha was intending us to include in our field of metta or loving kindness all kinds of beings, from the smallest to the largest, the two-legged, the four-legged, the many-legged. So that's really how I hold it, and certainly how I try to live my life. And I don't claim to be perfect. There are challenging situations about that. But the first precept of non-harming is really very dear to my heart, both as an attitude towards people that I meet, certainly, but as I said, to all beings, and really acknowledging that to each being, their life is precious.
To practice compassion, to practice loving friendliness, metta, to appreciate, to develop appreciative joy of life. We always say that we abstain from killing, one of the 5 precepts. So this precept applies to everybody.
Buddhism has 2 main branches, Mahayana and Theravada. In both lineages, the Buddha talks about our relationship to animals and the fundamental question of the morality of eating them. In the Mahayana scriptures, the Buddha is unequivocal, addressing the subject in detail in the Lankavatara Sutra. For innumerable reasons, the Bodhisattva, whose nature is compassion, is not to eat any meat. Thus, Mahamati, whenever there is the evolution of living beings, let people cherish the thought of kinship with them, and thinking that all beings are to be loved as if they were an only child, let them refrain from eating meat. If, Mahamati, meat is not eaten by anybody for any reason, there will be no destroyer of life. Thus, Mahamati, meat eating I have not permitted to anyone. I do not permit, I will not permit.
There are many different quotes of the Precepts Buddha talking about different lives and not eating meat. One of the very strong statement that Buddha had is, I condemn meat eating in all means. I have never approved of meat eating. I will never approve of meat eating. And I do not approve of meat eating for my followers. For all sentient beings are equal to me like my only son.
For Bodhisattva vows, lay people can also take Bodhisattva vows if they choose. Monastics have our monastic precepts that are different from lay people, or at least more elaborated than what the lay people take as the 5 precepts. But the Bodhisattva vows, they can also take vows, and the Bodhisattva precepts will prohibit meat eating, whether you're a lay person or a monastic. It's very explicit.
So, Buddha's main teaching is be vegetarian. Main teaching is don't kill animal, don't kill human body, don't kill animals, don't lying, don't stealing. Very nice, honest, compassion for other to take care, for how is I can do other to benefit. Only these things remember, he said.
The Buddha also addresses the subject of eating animal products in the Surangama Sutra. Bhikshus who do not wear silk, leather boots, furs, or down from this country, or consume milk, cream, or butter, can truly transcend this world. In the Theravadan scriptures, only a few passages address the subject of eating meat. In the Jivaka Sutta, the Buddha discusses a notion called the 3 purities, saying that monks are not allowed to eat meat unless they know the animal was not killed for them. Jivaka, I say that there are 3 instances in which meat should not be eaten: when it is seen, heard, or suspected that the living being has been slaughtered for oneself. I say that meat should not be eaten in these 3 instances. I say that there are 3 instances in which meat may be eaten: when it is not seen, not heard, and not suspected that the living being has been slaughtered for oneself.
So one of the monastic rules in Theravadan Buddhism is that monks are allowed to eat meat. And I think that was a very practical thing at the time of the Buddha, as I understand it, because of the simple concept, beggars can't be choosers. And we have these penniless, wandering vagabonds who need to sustain their bodies in order to carry on their Dharma practice. If they went from house to house and said, no, I have to have a special kind of food, no, don't give me that, it would have been much harder for the lay community to support them. So the Buddha said it was permissible for them to eat meat as long as they didn't know, hear, or suspect that the animal had been killed specifically for them. If they suspected that or knew that, then they weren't allowed to eat that meat. So I think what the Buddha was saying is that as agents, we shouldn't, where we have a choice, we shouldn't be involved in that chain of killing. Even though the bhikkhu had not done the killing and someone else had done that, it was still considered improper if it was killed with the bhikkhu in mind. In a modern consumer society, when we walk into the supermarket, one has to wonder, who have those animals been killed for? And as an average consumer, you know, it often feels to me like they were killed with me in mind if I buy that meat. So an updated understanding of that could be in this modern consumer society. By buying meat and fish products, we're participating in that same chain of killing that the Buddha recommended against.
And so the rule was made that if you didn't kill the animal yourself, you didn't request it to be killed for you, and you are not aware that it was killed on your behalf, then karmically you are pure, because you were just wandering around through the villages collecting whatever people happen to want to put in your begging bowl. But in a situation where actually you are in charge of what you can eat, and you go into butcher shops and you buy meat, then in a way the very fact that you're buying it is saying that you are subscribing to the whole culture which rears meat to be killed for consumption. I mean, they only raise and kill these animals because people buy the meat. If we didn't buy it, that particular industry would die out.
That if somebody goes into a market, say on a Tuesday, and orders a piece of chicken, at the sales counter somebody will click some kind of calculator which will determine on Tuesday a piece of chicken was sold, which will send out a message for next Tuesday that we have to meet the same quantity of chickens to satisfy our customer base. You know, so even though when you order the chicken on Tuesday, you're not responsible for the death of the chicken that's providing that meal on Tuesday, but in an indirect way, you can be sending a signal that next Tuesday a chicken should be killed to provide food for the customers.
Is the first of 3 parts of our film, and you can see that film, the entire film, on YouTube. If you go to our website, which is dharmavoicesforanimals.org, on the homepage there is a link to the YouTube site where you can watch the film. If you forget about our website, you can just put Dharma Voices for Animals in YouTube, you'll find it. And the way that you get the translations into the 10 different languages is at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side, there's a wheel. If you click on the wheel, it gives you the 10 language subtitles. Click on that, and you have it just like we had Chinese up on the screen. So that's our film. Yeah, I encourage you, if you haven't seen it, I know that a lot of the monastics here have watched the film, as has Master. Please take a look at the entire film. If you found that interesting, we have 2 more parts to the film. So why don't we just see if there's questions now before we move on? Any questions that came up watching the film? Comments? I'd like to hear from. No, for the beginning, some people who haven't asked any questions yet, and then I'm sure we'll have some time to get back to extra questions. So, first of all, what did you think of the film? Was it interesting? Did it get you to think about things? Did you not like it? What did you think?
那刚才我们的电影呢，其实只是1/3的部分而已哦，所以大家如果想要看到整个片段的话，大家可以到网上去搜寻，就是 Dharma Voices for Animal.org， 然后你看到一个影片，那大家可以在那边观看。那大家看了之后心里有什么感想？有什么东西感到想要发言，或者有什么疑问的？那现在就是我们的可以开放时间给大家再继续的发问。
I think you have another question, please.
Yeah, if you don't mind, as Brother Bob. My question is, how and what, animals have a unique way when it comes to survival, okay? The art of survival, compassionate, yeah, especially under pain and suffering. Okay. So my question is, how and what are the skills that we humans can learn from these animals as regards to the art of unique way of survival under the context of pain and suffering? My question is, the purpose of my question asking is that perhaps we humans now can learn or hope to borrow from animals in adapting in some ways, perhaps a bit revolutionary, if I may say, permit to say this, in adapting, hoping to learn from animals as skills in adapting in a way to the current world of insanity right in front of us right now, or in that context.
所以这师姐是问说，我们从动物身上能不能看到它有什么求生的技巧，是我们人类可以跟它学习的。
So what can we learn from animals? So that's an important question. Well, what we can learn from animals is that all of us have a unique and deep desire and connection to life. That life is precious. And the Buddha talked about the preciousness of human birth. And it's a unique opportunity for us as humans to practice the Dharma, to practice Sila, or the practice of the Precepts. So we have this unique opportunity because we've been given a human birth. So animals, although they obviously have not been born in this lifetime, as humans still love life and yearn to be alive so they can experience happiness and experience the joy of life. So to me, that's what I learned from animals. You know, when I was a boy, I had a dog that I loved very much. And I remember one day just connecting with my dog's love for life. And I didn't feel that there was any difference between his love for life and my own love for life, that I want to live. And I wouldn't want anyone to do to me what we do to animals. Raising them for slaughter is just as bad, if not worse, than the actual slaughter. So that's how I connect to your question, right? What I learned from my dog was kindness. I mean, oftentimes he would put my interest in front of his own. You know, if I was in trouble, like sometimes I would be playing sports all the time, and sometimes I would fall down and injure myself, not seriously, and he'd come up to me thinking, I mean, even if he was tired or himself, if he was sick, to see if I was okay. So there's kindness there and generosity, dana, that I learned, and that's not only dogs that exhibit it, but you know other animals do as well. So that's my best answer to that. So I'm just looking around to see if there's anyone else that we haven't heard from. Yeah, please.
Regarding the skills, there is one thing which I would like to bring up to the attention of everyone, that before the tsunami, the elephants on a chain, they broke their chain and ran to higher ground. That is the thing, they have this special skill which we humans do not have. And then my own dog went around in circle before the tsunami struck. So these are the special skills that animals acquire. They have, which we don't. They can foresee. And even birds, they flew in different circles or in directions that is not seen before any catastrophe.
好，那还是刚才师姐所问的，到底在动物身上我们能看到它们有什么求生的技巧是我们可以学习的？那后面那位师姐就尝试补充，她说其实 比如说在海啸或者有灾难来的时候，他有注意看到说，那些大象其实他们懂得跑到比较高的地方去，然后他自己家的狗呢，好像就跟平常以往有一点不一样，他会在他那个自己的方向一直在兜圈子的在绕哈，然后还有那个如果我们有观察到在天空飞翔的鸟儿呢，他们都会跟他们平时所飞行的方向或者方式都稍微会有一点不一样，那基本上那就是动物求生的一个方式，它会给我们一些的讯号。
Thank you for the question, also for the translation. So, I mean, elephants are remarkable animals. I've spent about 3 months in Kenya and Tanzania in Africa. I was recently, last year, in Sri Lanka, and I went to an elephant sanctuary. So these are really remarkable animals. And I guess our message today is that although we don't hear a lot about the animals that we eat, such as a chicken, a turkey, a pig, a calf, a cow, a fish, because the meat industry keeps it from us. You know, we're not allowed, as Albert mentioned in his story. How touching is that they didn't want him into the slaughterhouse because they were pretty sure that he would be, we'd say freaked out, just overwhelmed by the misery in the room, but he could still hear the cries. You know, if each animal is completely unique, they each have their own personalities. For those of us who've been around them, I mean, in the States, there are sanctuaries, animal sanctuaries, animals that are saved from slaughter. And I was in Taiwan, and a master Hai Tao, who worked together very closely, owns 40 animal sanctuaries. I had a chance to be with buffalo and cattle and ducks and pigs and other animals that we eat. And they're all unique. You spend just a little time with them. They're completely unique. They all have their own stories. So their life is as precious to them as our lives are precious to us. What I'd like to do for a moment, if it's okay, I'd like to pass out, as I mentioned, different things we have. We have brochures, we have still a few copies of our film, and we have a membership form. So it doesn't cost anything for you to become a member of DVA. If you're vegetarian, if you're not vegetarian, the only thing we ask is that you are concerned about animals. And if you are welcome to become a member of DVA. There's no cost, and what you do, if you join us, you are honoring our organization, and we're able to include you in our member list, so that when we go and Albert and I and other members of DVA give talks, when I go to the government VBS in Vietnam, I can say our organization has a certain number of members. Now we have 1,700 members worldwide in 56 countries. You'll be adding to our list of members, but we'll be adding you to our list of members. So you're really helping us out. You're being a voice for animals. So I'm going to pass these out now. I hope you have a pen or pencil. We would love all of you to become members, and already a number of members of a lot of the monastics that live here have already become members. So I'm going to pass this out, and then we'll keep talking. We have some more things to share with you.
Is it life membership? Life membership?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. It is life membership. Would you mind doing that? Thank you.
现在我们要传下去的呢，基本上就是会员表格，是这个动物法音协会的会员表格。那刚才Brother Bob 有提到，其实现在我们在整全球呢，已经有56个国家，还有超过了1700位的会员。所以今天呢，如果您还未持数没关系，只要您有一颗关怀动物的心，想要为动物发言的话，都非常欢迎你们加入参加，成为我们的会员的一份子。那当 当我们在填写表格呢，当然如果大家有什么提问的话，也欢迎您只要举起手，那我们的麦克风呢就会传到您那去。
What is the difference between vegetarian and vegan?
So I'm glad someone asked this question, because I don't think Albert or I discussed this. The question is, what is the difference between vegetarian and vegan?
那这位师姐问的呢，就是到底素食与纯素的分别在哪？
So the word vegan was coined. We say a phrase was coined. It was developed. The word came from the West. It was actually England. The term used in Asia is often pure vegetarian. So a vegetarian is one who does not eat animal flesh. So it would be any animal that lives in the water, fish, mollusks, crustaceans, all different kinds of animals that live in the water, birds, and mammals, and reptiles. It's all animal flesh, right? A pure vegetarian or a vegan, as we have on our website and our form, is one who does not eat animal flesh, like I just described. Everything, a vegan is a vegetarian, plus a vegan will not eat animal products, such as dairy and eggs. So no animal products is pure vegetarian or vegan, as we have on the form. So Albert and I practice that way. A number of people do. I just mentioned Master Haitao, who was at our conference. We had a big conference in Seoul, South Korea. He's a pure vegetarian. But start wherever you are. You don't have. If you're eating animals now or animal flesh, start somewhere. Maybe once a week. Don't eat animal products or animal flesh. And then maybe breakfast. What I did is I stopped eating meat at breakfast. And then for lunch. And then eventually I took it out of my diet. So start wherever you are. You don't have to think, gee, I can't do this, it's too hard. Just start. Do what you can, even if it's something small. Could you stop eating chicken? I don't know how much. Are a lot of chickens eaten in culture? I think, yeah. Is your diet, yeah. So a lot in the West. In the U.S., the average American eats 35 chickens a year. You think about that. So a family might be eating 120, 150, 200 chickens. So I ask people just to stop. Can you stop eating chickens? And not to substitute other animals in there, but just to stop eating chickens. To think how many lives you will save, and to look at that as your practice of generosity.
那素食跟纯素的分别就是，素食基本上是不吃动物的肉，而纯素呢就包括了比如说鸡蛋啊、牛奶之类都是来自动物所制造出来的东西呢，那我们也不吃哈。那今天呢，可能我们不需要太过担心，说我们不能一日之间就能够做纯素，但是只要从一小步开始一个小步开始先有一个动作，那基本上呢，我们可以慢慢，可能就是一星期先尝试一天或者是一星期先尝试一餐都可以只要一个跨出第一步是非常的重要那想想，如果说我们是很喜欢吃，比如讲我们很喜欢吃鸡肉，然后如果你开始从割舍鸡肉开始呢，那你想想，累积下来整一整年你可能已经可以挽救了很多鸡只的生命。
Good. I saw two hands go up. I think the microphone is whoever has the microphone, and then we'll get the next gentleman. Okay, so sir, please on this side, please. Yeah, thank you.
我想问一个有问题，这待会请师姐你帮我翻译然后刚才我看到那个片段呢，有讲到南传佛法，就是 只要是3斤肉就可以吃。我在想就是说，这3斤肉的话，比如说只要不是为我杀，我不定是为我杀，我不见到是为我杀的话就可以吃。比如说我们去外面买的食物有肉食的，或者是在那个市场那边买的肉食回来已经死了。那我们吃了过后呢，是否对我们会有这个业报？谢谢。
So the question is about in the Theravada teachings, it is saying that if the meat is not being killed because of me, but I'm actually bought it probably from the night markets, which is already dead, right? So if I'm taking this meat, would it be actually causing any bad karmas to me?
I understand what you say about the Theravada teachings, and that there is the saying is that there is no bad karma attached if you're just buying a piece of meat from the market or the supermarket because you did not see, hear or suspect the animal was killed. So this is the advice that a lot of Theravada monks give to people when they approach them for actually not permission, but to maintain a guilt-free conscience of buying and cooking meat and eating meat. I think it's not that simple. Let me say this to you. You need to consider the whole Buddhist teachings in its entirety, and not just on one sutta. Why? Because the Buddha's teachings are like a forest, many trees with many leaves in each tree. Just to look at one teaching is like looking at one leaf in one tree in the forest.
那在我们的南传佛教里头，很多法师会告诉大家说，只要是3净肉呢，其实就没有一个业报跟我们相连。其实这样子只是让我们感觉到比较没有那么内疚哦。其实当我们看佛法的时候，我们要看得很全面。基本上你可以观想，就是说，整个佛法就像整座的森林哦。所以如果你只是依据一个简短的片段，或者就是说一个法师一个南传的一部经典来说，我们基本上就好像只是看到一片叶子，而不是看到整座森林。佛陀所说的法在里头。
If we look at the overall content of the entire Buddhist teachings, not to say that you have to read all the suttas or sutras, but even with just reading a few of them, you can see that Buddha's teachings, kindness, compassion is paramount. Even His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said that his religion is kindness. So if you see that, the whole spirit, that's the whole spirit of the teachings. If you only want to interpret and say that there is one particular sutta that suits my point of view because I want to eat meat, then I think we have missed the entire point of Buddha's teachings.
所以当我们要看佛法的整个精髓的时候，其实我们要看全面。当然不是说我们需要读到佛陀所说的全部经典，但是如果我们尝试去读佛陀的大多数经典里头，都非常的强调慈悲所以呢，如果我们只是读了刚好的一部经典里头有说到这句话，让我们觉得是允许我们吃肉的话，让我们感到安心的话，那其实就有一点背离佛法的真实理念了。
I really appreciate your question. Thank you very much. And I mentioned I practice in Theravada, so I hear this all the time. that it's okay as long as you didn't kill the animal. And what Albert said is beautiful. It captures my heart response to this. I also want to say, you saw Bhikkhu Bodhi. He is widely recognized as the #1 living Theravadan scholar. And you heard what he said about when you order chicken. The 3 purities, which is what some Theravadins rely on to justify their meat habits, the 3 purities is not for lay people. It's a very narrow exception to the rule that it's okay to eat meat if you're a monastic on alms rounds. So somehow through the years this has changed into a license, a permission to eat whatever you like, and completely ignores all the other teachings. And then there's the Dhammapada in the Pali Canon, which is there for Theravadins, which says, I'm just going to read from it, it's on the cover of our flyer, the Dhammapada, important part of the Pali Canon. All beings fear danger. Life is dear to all. When a person considers this, he does not kill or cause to kill. So what happens when we go into a restaurant or a grocery store to buy a market, and we order meat? As Bhikkhu Bodhi said, well, that animal wasn't killed for us. If we're eating the animal in general, it was killed for us, but specifically an order will be placed to kill the next animal. I mean, this is just the truth. The only reason, as Tenzin Palmo says, and she was 12 years in a cave. She meditated not for 3 years to become a Lama, but for 12 years. A book was written about her, 12 Years in the Snow. She's maybe the most famous nun in the world. And she talks about that who else was the animal killed for when we go into a store. So as you can see, I mean, my heart aches when I hear Buddhists making excuses. It's okay if that's what you want to do, but to really to look at the teachings of the Buddha, it is so plain that compassion and non-harming. How else to live our lives but to try to do it in a more compassionate and kind way? Now, you'll all make your own decisions. It's not for Albert or I to tell you what to do. What we're doing tonight is we're encouraging discussion and reflection and thought. This is something that really doesn't go on very often, and hasn't. This is the point of our organization. We want you to talk about this and think about it. I mean, I've spent 22 years in Theravadan Buddhism, and I've been to many retreat centers. As I mentioned, I'm a lay teacher, and unless I'm bringing it up, or someone in Dharma Voices for Animals like Albert, or some of our members around the world, this is never talked about. So it's really good tonight. You'll have to draw your own conclusions and decide for yourself what you're going to do. We're just asking you to please consider not eating animals.
刚才我听到Brother Bob 他就提到，刚才影片里面有讲到2个人哦，一个叫 Bhikkhu Bodhi 的，还有一个叫做 Denzo Palma 的，所以他们有提到是说，如果是根据某一部经典让允许我们去吃肉的话呢，而忽略了其他经典所教导的，就教导我们不要去吃肉的话呢，这样子的话就未免太过片面了哈，所以好像有提到是说，在市场上我们可以买到一些肉，然后我们觉得说那些肉并不是为我们而杀的，而我们去买然后去吃，其实这个无形中也是在鼓励说，这个市场要增加这个肉的供应，其实间接的我们就牵涉到这种杀生的那种活动吧，买卖活动当中，所以这个动物法音协会呢，这 Brother Bob 还有 Albert 他们已经在其实 Brother Bob 在 这个南传佛教的熏陶之下已经有22年这样子了，所以他也鼓励大家去吃素不过这个决定权呢还是在于我们自己，虽然他是鼓励了，不过这决定权还是在于我们自己，所以如果有什么提问的话，你可以再跟 Brother Bob 再交流一下。
Hi, good evening everyone, and good evening and welcome to the next Right. I have a question, as in how are we going to practice vegan or vegetarians on infant, or should we decide for them, or is it right that we decide for them? We decide our children to be vegan or vegetarians, and if it's so, we got to start from infant or
那这位师兄所提问的问题就是说，我们要怎么样让我们的小孩吃素？那是从他婴儿开始呢，还是从他比较儿童时期开始呢？那我们要用什么方式
Thank you for asking that question. The advice from health authorities in Australia, in USA, is that a well-balanced vegan and vegetarian lifestyle is adequate for all phases of life, from infancy until end of life.
那根据澳洲的健康专家所言其实这个在什么阶段呢？让我们的小孩或者孩子吃素呢？其实素食是很全面的，在哪一个年龄阶层呢都是适合的。
As in any lifestyle, whether vegetarian, vegan, or meat eating, it is essential that we eat a balance, that we find the right balance of foods to eat to maintain our health.
那其实不管是怎么样的饮食方式呢，最主要的就是均衡的饮食方式才能维持到我们的身体的健康。
Historically, vegetarianism has been practiced for many hundreds of years in China and India.
这种素食的饮食方式呢，其实也不是今天才发生就是已经相传到很多年之前，在中国、在印度都已经是有实行的
For my particular example, I've been a vegan for the past 8 years, and prior to that, I was a vegetarian for another 6 years. I don't suffer from any health problems. I don't take any regular medicine.
那我是一个在过去的8年以来，我已经是一个纯素者。那之前呢，我也是一个大概6年时间呢，我已经是一个全素者。那其实到目前为止呢，我的身体状况都很健康大家可以看到，我其实不需要吃一些什么药基本上身体都很健康。想让大家知道，其实吃素呢，对我们的身体健康都会形成任何影响。
I have a daughter who has 3 sons. They are aged 8, 6, and 3. My daughter is a vegan. She's raised her children as vegans from infancy. Her husband is a vegan. So it is possible to live a life and raise a family from infancy as vegans without any health problems.
那我自己有一个女儿，她有我有3个孙子，就是我的女儿有3个儿子，他们的年龄呢是介于8岁、6岁还有3岁。那他们其实都是全素者，我女儿也是一个纯素者。那她现在基本上是一个家庭主妇，她其实就是准备食物给她的孩子吃，所以基本上孩子如果是从婴儿时期就开始吃素的话，对身体健康都没有影响的，大家可以放心。
In case you think I forced my daughter to do it, no, I didn't.
如果你们认为或者以为是我逼我的女儿去吃素的话，其实不是这样的情形的。
She chose her own husband.
她自己选择了她的丈夫，她丈夫也是吃素的。
And from young she was very independent. So she left home after finishing high school. She went to live on her own. She got married. She's raised 3 young boys now. And so I'm happy she made it. The decision was her own choice.
那基本上我女儿她是很独立的一个人哈。那她中学毕业之后呢，她就到外国去了。那她选择了她的自己的丈夫，她也选择了她生活的方式，就是她的饮食的方式。所以我非常高兴她做了这个抉择哈。
What we can do as a whole tonight is that we would like to form a local chapter in Penang. DVA chapter, Penang chapter, headed up with a chapter leader or 2 co-leaders. So would you put up your hands for that? If you would like to do that for us. Because we really need to form a local chapter, the Penang chapter of DVA, to spread our mission, you know. So it is essential. So do we have any volunteers who would like to head up the chapter? You can always have some friends, 1 or 2, to help you out as co-chapter leader or coordinator, whatever name you want to put to it. But it's essential, and that's why we are also here for. We don't want to leave here empty-handed. So please don't disappoint us. Yeah. If you are shy talking to us in public, please come up, talk to Bob, talk to me, and then we can help you form a chapter. So we do have resources to help you form a chapter. But that, I know time is short, we only have 5 more minutes left. So we won't take any more questions, but we would ask you to lend us a hand. Not because we are here as people, but because we are here to be good people, to act also for animals because we respect life. So that's why we are here for. That is our purpose. Yeah. For the greater good of humanity and for all living beings. So this is the mission really for DVA and for ourselves in our own practice. You see? So this is part of the Buddhist practice.
那 Brother Albert 就说他们大老远从美国还有从澳洲过来呢。今天其实他们有希望能够达成一个目的，就是说希望可能今天我们听完讲座之后回去无法一下子就希望全球的人都大家一起来植树，但是我们希望种子从今天这里开始，在槟城呢会有一个分会的执行人有没有菩萨想要承担这个，当我们这个槟城或者马来西亚分会的执行人，让我们一起能够把这个植树保护动物的这个理念传播下去。所以今天可能大家都还没有开始那个植树的地步，那没关系。最重要的，他们希望在他们回去之前呢，我们是有一个菩萨勇于承担如果大家觉得不好意思在这里举手的话，那在稍后可以跟他们借洽，好吗？
Before we're going to conclude in just a minute, I wanted to say a few things in closing. Be sure to come up and take one of our brochures. If we run out here, I have a few extra copies. And if you haven't passed up your membership form, you still have it. Please bring it up after, and then we'll add you to our membership. And then you can check on our website. It's who we are. It's the top tab, homepage, and then you can see who we are. and then you'll see your name there. Give me 2 weeks, because I've got a lot of new members, and by the time I get back to California, October 21. So between now and November 1, you'll be on our website, and you'll get a newsletter about 4 or 5 times a year to tell you what's going on with DVA around the world. So I want to say a few things. First of all, to our cameraman, our camera crew, our video player, and to our translators, who sometimes we put in a difficult situation. I know I forgot a couple times that we have a translator, so they sometimes had to translate like 5 minutes. So pretty remarkable job, guys. Thanks a lot. And I want to thank our monastics for coming. Thank you very much. We're honored by your presence. And thanks to each of you for coming. And I know you have other things you could have done tonight. The fact that you came here really speaks greatly about your compassion and kindness. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to be here if you want to come up and ask any questions, or please take a flyer, give us a membership form, and just come up and say hi. So I'd like to meet as many of you as possible. Thank you very much.
May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. Free from harm, danger, difficulties and problems. May they have the ability to cope with the problems imposed on them and come out with determination to cope with the situations they are in. Now we share our merits with all living beings. We dedicate our merits to the enlightenment of all living beings. And also, may they rejoice in all our merits. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, good night.
Thank you.